We're unmuted.
Welcome back to the Pioneers Podcast. First one in, I think, around 9 months or so. I was just looking it up on your YouTube channel, and today I'm joined by Kronovi, MsJewel, and Matt Ness. So, yeah, these podcasts are going to be a rotation of our content creators, staff members, pro players, and everything in between. How are you guys? You, Kronovi and Jewel, you guys just got done streaming, right? How were the streams?
Yeah, it was good. I want to toss my controller into a wall. Ranked was not fun.
I saw that you got SSL in threes. How close are you in twos?
I was like 50 points off, and now I'm 80 points off after a few hours of streaming. So I'm feeling very great.
Always. Fantastic. Oh, that's unfortunate. How close are you to SSL, Jewel?
I'm already there.
Oh.
So no worries. I don't know.
But yeah, basically, we're going to be bringing back the podcast on a weekly basis every Friday night, 5 p.m. CST. You can catch us here. Like I said, different content creators, staff members, etc. And we're just going to be giving all kinds of KCP updates, talking about general news going on in esports and gaming. And so I think the main thing that we want to talk about today is just all the stuff that's happening in RLCS. Landon was last weekend? It was already 2 weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it was last week.
Was it last weekend?
Last week.
Only a few days, yeah.
Okay,
It's like 4 days.
I literally lose track of time all the time now because it just goes by so fast. But yeah, last weekend, and then Worlds is literally right around the corner in like a month away, which we're all going to be there. It's going to be super, super dope. And then, yeah, other than that, like just some other updates within KCP. I mean, it's been a little bit now, but Kronovi's been kind of in a transition from pro player to content creator. And then, what that means to be a content creator, because I think like we all do a great job at KCP of being streamers, right? Like that's typically what we are, but content creation itself is a completely different beast. And I think like as we get into the second half of the year, we're putting a much heavier focus on creating content. And Matt, that's one of the things that you wanted to talk about is just like, when you say the differences in content creation and streaming, what do you think about?
Whenever I think about the differences between content creation and streaming, bro, like there's just too many people out here that think that they're making content whenever they are just sitting in front of a camera all day and talking about their lives or talking to chat. Like I get it that to an extent you're developing content and some content opportunities can appear throughout your streams, but I think what sets the Ludwigs and the some of these other tier 1 streamers apart from the world is that they actually set aside time within their streams to like actually develop content that would be later then edited for YouTube or TikTok or other platforms that content can really thrive and gain exposure to other to more fans that might not be aware of your content or your presence on Twitch / YouTube, depending on where you stream. And I guess I kind of wanted to get like your thoughts on that, Jewel and Kronovi. I guess like we can kind of start with Jewel because like I know Jewel, you've been streaming pretty professionally like over the past 2 years. Kronovi, you're a little bit new into it, so MsJewel, like if you kind of want to go into your thoughts on that and how you've seen like bad and or good examples of creators and even yourself, like what you're doing to kind of push the line of what content creation looks like aside from streaming. You're muted, MsJewel.
You're muted. I said I was gonna unmute us to start, and then Jules tried to unmute us, and she muted herself.
Well, I mean, I can go while we get this thing sorted, if you want, because I really like your point about it's just content opportunities. Like when you're streaming and just talking in front of a camera, if you're not actively thinking, like you don't have a goal for the stream, you kind of just click live and do whatever. All these opportunities may pass you by while you're live and you don't even realize it, right? The big creators are the ones that create these opportunities that are looking for them or even have them planned out. And a lot of that comes, I think, from like people that come over from making like YouTube videos and maybe other short form videos like TikTok, Instagram, whatever, that come over and start streaming on Twitch, I think have it figured out a bit easier. They have a bit of an easier time because, when you're not like live, and when you want to put out like a really good just video, no matter how long it is, there's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of work that I didn't realize when I switched over from pro to content creator. It's a lot of scripting. It's a lot of making sure you're energetic. You might not, want to be recording when you are, but you want to put out a video tomorrow. So you kind of just gotta act excited even when you're not sometimes if you want to get the video out on time. And so there's a level of like acting, there's a level of being creative, and a lot of that is just unappreciated or unknown by a lot of people.
100%.
Oh, you're back.
Oh, back?
Oh. Yeah, it's pretty funny that you said, "Oh, what a professional streamer" from that. And I guess that you had it. Yeah, I had it routed on the wrong Go XLR thing. So
All good.
pretty professional. Oh, is it my turn?
Yep, go for
Yeah,
it.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well. The content creation, I feel it's evolved to not just I think like in 2016, 2017, you did pretty well just Twitch streaming because the platform was not as saturated. And now content creation has evolved to being able to use that content and use it on TikTok, on Instagram, and Twitter, and all this. And it's super important that you bring that content to all the other platforms. And yeah, I feel very awkward. I apologize.
No, yeah. I mean, I brought up that topic just mainly because I know that there's a lot of people, I mean, especially part of the KCP community and that follow us that would love to have an opportunity to either be here or just be a content creator themselves. But I often see those people getting lost in the streaming route and them thinking that streaming for 8 hours a day is going to help them grow to the point that they want to be, when realistically putting in that time into 2 hours of streaming and then breaking it up into 6 hours of actual producing content, ideating and learning how to edit, or if you know how to edit, then editing your content already. I just think that there's more under the hood that isn't necessarily talked about enough, and when it is talked about, people don't necessarily resonate with it and understand what people really mean by it. So
I think
just know that, just like I think the mantra heading forward, yeah, streaming can be content creation, but look at it in two separate revenues and two separate, rivers. You know what I mean?
100%. You kind of took the words right out of my mouth when you said, like, streaming 8 hours a day isn't necessarily the way to, if you want to try to build up your brand on social media, streaming 8 hours a day is not it. With the current discoverability on Twitch, like, it's very, very hard as a smaller streamer, especially when you're playing popular games like Rocket League or Call of Duty, to get discovered, because you're way at the bottom of the, people are going to have to scroll and scroll and scroll to find you. Whereas, streaming a couple hours a day and then spending those other hours to network on social media and then make content for other platforms is really where you're going to, find success. Because other than that, like, there's just really, when I think of my community on Twitch, like, I want to say 90% of it comes from outside sources. Like, it's very, very, not very common for somebody to be like, oh yeah, I found you by scrolling down, and like they're an active community member now. So you make a really good point there. Like, the best advice I could give, like, if you're wanting to be a content creator and full-time streamer, like, you have to be active on other platforms. And the other thing that brings is, like, other sources of revenue. Like you mentioned right at the end there, Matt, it's like, okay, well, Twitch income can be very, very, it can fluctuate on a month-to-month basis, right? You might have a really good month one month, and then it's just not the same the next, versus, if you build up a fan base on YouTube and TikTok, that kind of ad revenue can be a lot more consistent and more so just another source of income. So you don't have to solely depend on your Twitch check every single month. But
for sure.
And like, keeps you from like streaming 8 hours a day because you need a paycheck or something, right?
100%.
I mean, I would even think that, like, to say people, the younger generation, not everybody, like, people that look up to aspiring creators and streamers, especially full-time streamers like XQC and some of the big ones, like, that just sit there and play video games. I think it's misconstrued that those people think that they can just sit down and get paid for playing video games all day, when that's just, like, it's not the atmosphere anymore. Like, I'd honestly even say that, like, not stream, like, if you want to make it as a content creator, I feel like even not streaming would be a better avenue to follow down. Like, if you're starting in 2022, I think starting on other platforms and then working into Twitch and like being like, okay, now that you have 20K on TikTok, 5K on Twitter, like you've established yourself across these platforms, then utilizing that fan base you've built to be like, yo, guys, I'm streaming now every day, or here's my schedule. Like, I think that's a better and more efficient way to build yourself into a streamer if that's really what you want to be, rather than going vice versa and starting with stream and then trying to chase other platforms. I think it's the opposite way. You know what I mean? And I don't know if anybody else agrees, but that's just kind of my thoughts and
100%
how the
agree.
kind of industry's evolved.
Yeah, no, I think looking to the very, very top of Twitch as a model for what you want to do when you're just starting out is a really bad idea. You're setting yourself up for failure. These people they've already made it. They've already done their content, they've put in their grind, they've made it to the top, and people have already decided, oh, I've been watching this person for a bit. They're a big streamer. People are naturally drawn to just a stream with more numbers as well, because the sense of, community is kind of already existent.
Mm-hmm.
So to a degree, some of these streamers that just sit in front of a screen and play, they're too big to fail because people have already decided they like this personality. This is where they go, and as long as they don't mess up colossally, it's hard to lose that. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
But so much work goes into getting there, and I think what you want to look for as somebody just starting off is, pick a game or pick an environment that you like, and look at some of the smaller creators. Not too small, but not too big either. Just look at some of the creators in the middle of that scene, and what are they doing? How do they interact with chat? What do they do with their content? Where do they post their content? These are the steps that you want to take so that you can have what I would say is like your big break. You're looking for that one moment where you get, lucky, and consistency and grinding out all the streams is great, but it's not enough to get enough opportunities to have that one video go viral that puts you on the map and gets you started as a content creator. Because I feel like that's the biggest roadblock for a lot of people. They stream 8 hours a day over and over and over. Viewer count sits at 1, 2, 3, and it doesn't go anywhere. And they never get a foothold into even something consistent, like consistent 10 viewers and having people that come back every day. That is so massive, and that's like the first hurdle you have to get over. So you have to do a lot more now, and I think looking to the top streamers is definitely just not the right way to do it.
100%.
Yeah, I think a great example that I don't really know why I kind of know a lot about, but Mizkif, like he started now, like nowadays he's like a 30K, 40K average Andy, but when he started on YouTube making video essays on big streamers with the intention that those big streamers would watch these video essays on stream in front of their viewers. So like that's kind of like how he worked his way into the door, and then now he took that YouTube momentum onto Twitch and then like really started building himself to the creator he is now. And so I just think that that's kind of the meta these days, instead of just starting on Twitch and hoping and praying that the millions of other streamers don't get that one view or those 2 views that you're looking for.
What's crazy is just to offer some perspective, like Kronovi mentioned, like having the 10 people that come back every day can be huge. I think it's like averaging double-digit views, even if it's 10, like puts you in the top like 1.5% of Twitch, which is just insane to think about. That means there are so many people out there that could benefit from the advice of like, okay, 8-hour streams a day aren't it. But then, regardless of the streaming path or the content creation path or however you want to start, then there's a third option, right? And I think this one is the hardest of them all. And that's like becoming a pro player, because then people watch you for your skill. I mean, like there's a few different reasons people will watch you on Twitch. You're funny, you're relatable. There's a few different things, but obviously if you're a pro player, you're going to have that audience regardless, just because people want to see what it's like to play the game at the highest level. So in the past, 6 months or so, Kronovi's been transitioning into a content creator role from a pro player. Spent the last, decade-ish, maybe? I don't know. I got into Rocket League when KCP got into Rocket League, so I'm not super familiar. But we all know you're one of the GOATs when it comes to Rocket League, and I just want you to talk about, like, what the transition has been like. What are some hurdles that you didn't think you were going to come across? What's been maybe easier than you thought it would be? And like, overall, are you enjoying the process, and where do you see the future going for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit of a journey, a few eye-opening things. It's not as easy as I thought it would be. I definitely underestimated I think content creators as a whole, once you have to become one and realize how much thought goes into even little things, even just basic social media posts. These require thought. Unless you're just an absolutely gifted natural and you're hilarious and everything you say is so relatable, which is definitely not me. I practically have the personality of like a slice of bread. So I have to think a lot about what I say and what I do. And writing scripts for like YouTube videos is something that I've never ever done, and I'm terrible at it. And I've tossed like 8 scripts in the trash can by now, and it's at the point where I'm starting to get frustrating. And I know other people have gone through this before, and I just have a lot of respect for people that have made it where they are in content. Even though streaming is still as easy as it always has been, I'm very grateful that I can still go live and have absolutely no purpose with the stream, and people will show up just because they want to watch just gameplay. But I want to take it further. I'm used to being competitive and trying to compete to be the best in the world at something, and I would like to be able to be the best in the world with my Rocket League content. And it's going to take a while to get there, but that's kind of where my head's at.
I love that. And then for you, Jewel, I was just curious as Kronovi was talking, it's like, when did you have the moment for you that was like, you're going full time? Like, do you remember a specific moment in time, or was it a specific crazy stream, or like, what was that like for you?
It was definitely not a crazy stream. It was fresh out of college. I started streaming in college. I feel like a lot of people probably start around when they're in school, and then I streamed about 2 years, and then I graduated, and then started looking for jobs, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. I felt like it was a good break moment to just try out streaming. And I've kind of just been doing it ever since 2017, 2018. It's been rocky, it's been rough, but we're here. Slowly found my way into like being more of a focus on Rocket League, maybe not in the pro sense of maybe like Kronovi, whatever. That's cool and all. But I just utilized my other form of ways of creating like a community and just trying to be friendly and hanging out with people and making those kind of connections as well. And yeah, slowly but surely getting better at the game. Don't know if I'll ever get SSL, but
we believe in you. I think it'll happen eventually. But yeah, like you mentioned, it's a rocky road. There's a lot of highs that come with it. There's a lot of lows that come with it, and everything in between. But
trial and error.
It is trial and error, and like as long as you're staying consistent, as long as you're like Kronovi mentioned, like checking out other streamers and not necessarily copying and pasting what they do, but learning from them and implementing things in your own way. Like I think that's the recipe for success. But mentioning like the highs of highs, like KCP last weekend qualified for Worlds, which is pretty crazy to think about. Considering we have one of the youngest, or no, not one of the youngest team in RLCS history. And I think watching those games was really, really enjoyable. And I mean, just the Landon as a whole, I mean, the brackets were screwed on the first day, right? I know as you two are heavily involved in the Rocket League community, it's the thing to, you make a bracket pre-tourney, everybody posts them. And then it was just crazy to see nothing but 3-0 sweeps pretty much in the opposite direction the first day. Except for the KCP match, unfortunately, go up 2-0 against SSG and then get reverse swept. But no, yeah, overall, I think Landon was a great event. What do you guys like? What was your guys' main takeaway from Landon, and what are you looking forward to with Worlds?
I think it's getting to the point where it's hard to figure out who's gonna win that series, and just in general, because everybody's so good at like all the teams that are participating. It's just getting to the point where it's hard to figure out who's going to win the series. It honestly could just depend if one of the teams they're just having a better day at this point. So
yeah, it totally could. I mean, the skill gap is so thin now. I think it's very hard to pick a favorite. And like I thought BDS were gonna take home this tournament. And then if you looked at my bracket on day 2, you saw that I'd gotten like 90% of my bracket wrong. The whole tournament got flipped upside down. And a big thing that I was happy with was the minor regions did so well. I don't even like calling them minor regions anymore. I just want to call them other regions. Like before, it was North America, EU, and that's it. But South America keeps getting top 6, and the Falcons almost won the whole thing. So Worlds is going to be so competitive. It's going to be the best Rocket League we've seen ever.
For someone like myself, like I said, I've probably been watching Rocket League for almost 2 years now. But prior to that, like you mentioned, NA EU was always pretty dominant. When was it? Was there like a has it just been gradually over time that other regions are getting better? Was there like a specific event that is just like, oh my gosh, these aren't really minor regions anymore? Or like, because I think we see the same thing in FPS titles. It's typically, or I mean, like, you know, Call of Duty, Halo, we typically see NA dominates, EU's kind of a close second, and then other regions can't really compete just because they don't get the same kind of practice. But yeah, I love that Rocket League, the skill gap is narrowing because it just makes it that much more fun to watch. But yeah, was it like, has it been gradually happening?
Definitely gradually. I mean, like OCE, for example, I think is even more prominent now of showing their skill at this point.
I mean, it took them a few seasons to even get a top 4 placement. OCE did. I remember when OCE started, they didn't do very well. I think it was season 3 was their first appearance, and it wasn't until season 6 where they got a top 4. South America got introduced in season 7, and they only had 2 world championships to really, or 3. They had 7, 8, or 7 and 8 to play in. They only had 2 because 9 and 10 didn't have a world championship. It was all regional. So South America's approach and climb to being, you know, a respected region kind of got halted with the online era, and they've just been grinding. They'll play NA servers at like 130 ping or something just to grind, and it's a lot of credit to the players in these regions who work really hard and then show up on LAN, because now SAM are on the map. They put themselves on the map in LA, getting top 6, and now being one game away from going even further. And then MENA, of course, have always been good. They get to play on EU servers, kind of like the South American players get to play on NA, just with higher ping. They've always been good, and I think they've just been underrated for a very long time. But it's been gradual. I think the first time a region ever shows up to a tournament, it's tough. I think APAC is a great example of that. They've got the chance to play at all these majors, and they haven't taken a series yet. You know, they're a very isolated region, and it's going to take more time, I think, for them to really start being a threat to these top teams.
1000%. So regarding around the skill gap, I kind of have a fun question for you, Cameron, Kronovi, Bills.
Using my full name, I'm
when
scared.
you were playing when you were playing on the iBuyPower Classic team and you won the very first Rocket League World Championship, in your head, did you ever see it evolving to the point that Rocket League is at now? Like because compared to like Rocket League now and where it was, like obviously it was a lot slower of a play style. People were newer to the game. They didn't know you're the only person in the game that knew how to aerial. Like, so did you think in your imagination that Rocket League would go to this crazy fast paced game where people are literally getting their flip reset off the ball that people used to struggle to hit back in the day?
I mean, I definitely couldn't have predicted how skillful players would get now and how consistently they could hit these difficult tricks. I definitely knew the potential of the game. I knew that the sky wasn't even the limit for Rocket League. It was completely out of the stratosphere. Especially with like viewership. I knew the magic of the game was there, and I knew people just had to try it and see it, and they would connect with it. But to see people play the way they do now, and if you were to compare the gameplay of Season 1 Worlds to this most recent major or to this World Championship, I mean, back in the day, these mechanics didn't even exist. The flip reset literally could not physically happen until Season 2 of RLCS. There was a patch that came out that basically added it to the game. So there's no way I could have possibly predicted all the cool stuff that happens, because it wasn't even available to players back then. Not that we would be even good enough to pull it off.
And don't you think that's wild? Like, I feel like Rocket League is kind of the only game in terms of esports that's like that, where if the devs, like how you say in Season 2, the devs made some patch that made flip resetting available and possible, but I'm sure in the actual patch notes they didn't say flip resets are now a thing. You know what I mean? It was just something I'm sure that happened to do with the physics in the ball, right? So like, I think Rocket League I feel like, and this has just always been my personal opinion, like the reason it's honestly one of the best, if not the best esport, is because like you don't have like a tutorial phase in the game that is built by Psyonix that is like teaching you how to flip reset or how to properly rotate around the map that will make you a successful SSL player, or how to properly aerial in a way that will properly position you to rotate around your teammate in a way that's not going to interfere with their rotation to the ball. Like there's so many complexities within Rocket League. Yeah, exactly. That it's similar in a way to like basketball, where you're sitting there grinding how to throw the ball between your legs and then combo that with other moves to then outplay your defender. Like I think that's the difference between Rocket League and like Valorant, where Valorant, like obviously there's games and there's the way that the game is formatted that teaches you kind of how to play and the direction to go in. And like obviously it can get deeper like every esport, but Rocket League, it's just like you see it, you get everything that's on the bare surface, and it's like up to you and your own drive and your own intuition to actually improve at the game. Like no one's helping you. You don't have like a holding hand to actually drive and improve. So
yeah, when
I just wanted to juice up Rocket League. Shout out.
Yeah.
Are we counting Fortnite as an esport?
BRs aren't esports.
I agree with that. Well, that's a hot take for one that I agree with, and I've gotten roasted for that. I mean, we can get into that in a second, but just I only asked because Matt mentioned like Rocket League has the highest skill ceiling of any esport, and I agree because with FPS games there's only so much, right? There's only so much aim training you can do. There's only so many movement mechanics that you can do. There's only so much game knowledge, but Rocket League is always evolving and improving, and we've seen that over the course of the last 5 years. But Fortnite is kind of the same boat, right? Like it's not necessarily an esport, but at the same time, the players that do put in a professional amount of hours, like the stuff that they do was never intended by the devs. I don't think, right? Yeah. Like the stuff, it's just incredible. Yeah, sure. So I just wanted to throw that in there because Fortnite definitely skill ceiling is insane, and I think MsJewel is pretty close to the top of it.
Yeah, totally.
No,
cue the tree clip.
The FNCS champion.
It's never gonna die. It's never gonna die. I hate it.
All right, Crow. What? Oh, sorry. Go. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Go.
When are you gonna learn how to flip reset now?
I think Matt is a little bit ahead of the curve on me when it comes to flip resetting. I mean, he's not.
I've only hit like 3, and they
only
were
3.
So.
He's keeping count.
I hit a ceiling shot one time on accident, but I've never flip reset yet. Maybe next year. That'll be like a goal for next year, for sure. But I want to go back to like Kronovi mentioned battle royales aren't esports, because I personally agree, and I think
honestly,
but I agree. There's too much. There's too much
RNG, right?
What do they call it? RNG. Yeah, there's too much RNG.
This is true. This is true. So what annoys me is like they're not esports because you're not. Especially like when you get into like kill races, right? When you're just playing bot lobbies or killing people that aren't even in the tournament as well, because there's just so much RNG. But with the popularity of BRs, like we're seeing prize pools and player counts that are bigger than any other esport. So it's like it's kind of frustrating in a sense, you know what I mean? But I don't really know that can.
I mean. But this is the thing too, though, like kind of like Rocket League, like BR is a new genre of gameplay that has only really existed since like 2017, right? It was like PUBG, H1Z1, and Fortnite. Like, I think there hasn't been a dev to do it right yet, but I think that in like the next 5 years, we might get like a BR that is actually designed to be competitive. Because I think if you designed it right, obviously, like I'm not a game designer, but I'm sure that there are creative ways that you could go about it to make a battle royale competitive where it's 100 players dropping into a map and last one to live wins the game type shit or type stuff. Sorry, stream.
That's okay. It's PG-13.
Apex has been one that I've had on my radar. As just a BR, the statement BRs are not esports is so general and is very, very harsh. I do think they are obviously a viable esport because you can toss money into it and then people will come watch. That's like half of being a sport in general is will people watch what you do? And can there be skill expression? And there's definitely skill expression in BRs. Obviously the best players will always win their games if they're in low level lobbies. They know the right things to do. But some of the randomness of you can be a good player and you land in a zone with trash loot and the circle sucks, right? Your odds of winning that game are so much lower now and you have to make up for it. And higher skilled lobbies kind of adapt to these random elements very well, but it does feel like out of all esports, BRs are the ones where the players have the least control over the outcome, which is like the opposite of the competitive spirit, in my opinion. You look at a game like chess, where both players are one-on-one, full control, and it's up to them to just duke it out with what they have, not some outside source affecting things.
100%. That's where I'm at too. It's like if you want to consider BR's esports, or like you said, Apex is kind of, you know, pushing the barriers of like what is an esport for BRs. It's like loot has to be consistent, I feel like, at least somewhat consistent, and then like the safe zones as well, because those are the two things that can just kind of ruin a game for the best player in the lobby that deserves to win, you know? So, but I know we got a little off topic there, but I think that's something that a lot of people will enjoy. And I think you gave us our clickbait title for YouTube by saying,
oh no,
BRs are not
all
esports.
The players are gonna like roast you now. One of them was literally streaming Rocket League the other day, and I actually watched some of his stuff, and now he's gonna hate me. I'm scared.
But yeah, going back to a little bit of Rocket League, with Worlds coming up, like one of the things that you wanted to talk about, Kronovi, was the formatting. And something as like a newer Rocket League esport watcher myself is like, okay, who won the last major before Landon? NRG? Is that right?
It was G2.
G2?
That was like before Landon. Yeah, G2.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that was LA. That was G2 versus at the time Queso and G2.
Okay, so G2 won. This is the conversation that I was having with somebody during Landon. It was like, if you win the last major, you should auto qual for the next major. How do you feel about that? No? Yeah. Is that a thing? Is that a thing though? That's not a thing.
It's not a thing now, but the thing is, so a lot of people don't understand the overall global format for the season.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that that's fine, but the system kind of already does that for you. Not necessarily for qualifying for the next event, but you get so many points for winning a major that going to Worlds becomes a lot easier. I guess Psyonix just wants their players to be consistent in their own region. You know, they don't want some random peak team to like pop off. But yeah, I mean, the threat of doing well at an event and then doing poorly in your own region. I mean, that's basically what happened to NRG. They got top 4 in Sweden in the fall major, and they struggled a little bit at the next major, and then they didn't even qualify for Landon because they could not secure enough points against other North American teams. So if they had one in LA, we wouldn't even see them at Landon at all, the previous winners.
Yeah, which is
it's hard for me to decide, like, because Landon, we also called LA Landon as well.
Oh my God, I never even realized that.
Confusing me a little bit, but I can still recollect. I feel like we should say winter major and spring major for my brain.
I just get weirded out with winter major because I think winter major is Sweden because it's cold. And I don't know why
I feel like this is like summer major, right?
Right.
Also, that's also confusing. I agree with that.
But yeah, the way that I see it is like, you know, if you're defending champ of a major, you should have the opportunity to defend your title at the next one. But I can see why, like you said, you gain so many points that it's really hard to miss out on a major. But of course, it does happen from time to time. What was it about the format that you said? I can't remember, just looking at our notes. Like, what was the thing that you said needed to be changed, or like what you didn't like about it? We lost Matt.
Oh,
bro.
No. Yeah, he wasn't ready for what I was about to drop about the format.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll text him, get him back in here.
But yeah, the format is just really complicated for Worlds this time around. It's similar to like groups into bracket, like some esports do, but this is like groups that are bracket into another bracket. Hey yo,
welcome back.
I'm sorry, my internet crashed.
You good?
Oh, all good. But yeah, I mean, we've had 3 different formats so far for all the majors. Major 1 was Swiss into bracket, single and bracket. Major 2 was groups into semi-double and bracket. Some teams got a bye farther ahead in the tournament. And then this most recent one was just a massive double and bracket, which is what the old RLCS World Championships were based on. And I think this format's a little forgiving to some teams. I think we really will see all the top teams perform, and it'll just come down to who plays best on like Championship Sunday. Because you get, if you're in wildcard, you get Swiss, right? You get to play Swiss. I think Swiss really prevents a lot of upsets from happening because you can lose a match you weren't supposed to lose, and you still have 2 more lives. So you can prove that you just had a bad game, or you had 2 bad games, right? You get so many chances to make it out of Swiss. Followed up by, once you get out, Now you're in a group and you're back into a double elim bracket. You then get another life to figure it out in your group. And as long as you make it out of groups, you then go to the single elim bracket where it's like gloves are off. Best team needs to show up right here, right now. I think that's why double elim on its own for an entire bracket format was so brutal for Spring Major in London, because teams had to show up right there in the moment. And I think it makes for exciting Rocket League, but it puts a lot more pressure on players than I think they're used to. So I think we won't see that many upsets until maybe the final day, and then things will get crazy.
Why is it that they have switched formats every major? Like, is that normal for Rocket League? Do they do that throughout the year?
I think it's kind of a new thing with ever since RLCS X, when they wanted to do the once a year World Championship with the points qualification system.
Okay.
I'm not sure why, but I think it's good for them to test stuff out now while they can. The players get a lot of experience with different things. I don't know how they feel about it, if they think it's just confusing or if they hate certain formats over others, though.
As a player, what did you enjoy playing the most? Or like, I guess, did you just play like double elim brackets or on LAN?
It was mostly double elim brackets.
Gotcha.
I did play. I mean, some of these double elim brackets were massive. Back when you had to qualify for Worlds, you go through like 1,000 teams in a double elim bracket, and you get seeded near the end of it. But you still play like 5 or 6 matches, and if you lose, you play like 10 matches in a massive bracket. It took forever.
Gotcha.
But I did get to play a little bit of Swiss in RLCS X, and we did go to the online major when I was on Rogue. That was my last tournament with Rogue. And Swiss I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Is it
good?
And then MsJewel, from a viewer perspective, what do you think is the most enjoyable to watch? Because like you said, some of the formats, or like Kronovi said, some of the formats are a little bit more forgiving. Some, you have to show up then and there from the beginning of the tournament. And if your favorite team loses at the beginning, it's kind of screwed. But what do you think is the best from a viewership perspective?
Okay, well, I'm going to be honest. And this is probably, I think the last couple majors, I've been trying my best to keep up with it. And it is it is quite confusing for me at times to keep up with, because there's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
I agree.
I feel like they're experimenting to try and have the balance of a viewer that's, I mean, I play a lot of Rocket League. I watch a lot of Rocket League, but in general, it's still hard to keep up with everything, and like even the roster changes and all that. So I do think they're trying to find that balance of, for the players and for the viewers, to keep it entertaining in a sense. So
no, yeah, I agree. From like a newer viewer perspective, it can be really, really confusing about kind of things. Welcome back, Matt, for the second time. It's all good. It's all good.
Wait, he's on his phone, isn't he?
Yeah, no, the other way.
Okay.
Yep, you're solid. You're solid.
Okay, sorry guys, technical difficulties.
No, you're good. These things happen. It's all good. But yeah, so for Worlds, obviously Pioneers are going. We qualified during Landon. What are the other teams that we think are, or I guess I should ask you guys, because you guys know the scene way better than I do. What are like the top dogs? Who do you think is placing top 4 at Worlds, I'd say? And wait, before I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Are all the teams that are going to Worlds already qualified for Worlds, or are there still teams that have to qualify?
All qualifications are done. There are no more events. So basically everything's locked in. We just don't know seeding for wild card. That's it. But I mean, asking for top 4, that's interesting. Jewel, who do you think are the top 4 teams?
Dun.
Well, I mean, okay, well, I feel like top 4, I could maybe see, like, I feel like V1 had a really good run. Moist?
Yeah, gotta have Moist. They did just win.
They got second, right, for winter, and then spring. Well, Queso, I apologize. Moist Queso. So I feel like they have top 4. It's got to be, I don't know. I feel like they are just consistently.
Yeah,
right.
They've proven it.
Just goats, man.
All right, wait.
Got at least V1 Moist in the top 4.
V1 Moist, Pioneers.
Falcons.
Yeah.
And I would say like Falcons too.
And then Pioneers. Pioneers Falcons final.
Yep.
I think we're gonna shock the world. I really do, because like you guys mentioned earlier, anything can happen, right? The minor regions aren't minor anymore. And and it's going to be super exciting to watch. Whereas, you know, we go to these other esports events and you can pretty much expect who's going to be your top 3, but these can really be anybody. And Matt is on the meanest head glitch of all time right now. No, but yeah, I mean, that's all super exciting stuff. And other KCP news just coming up, different things that we're working on. This is obviously the first episode back of the podcast. We're going to be hosting these weekly now, Friday nights, with more Matt Cam for sure. Got it. This is great.
I love Matt Cam.
You're muted as well, Matt. I don't know if you know that, but
I thought you were going to say I was muted. I'm like,
no, Matt, you are muted. Oh, and now he's gone again.
The first episode of any podcast is
it's the Scuff Cast. It is what it is.
Every single time without fail.
These things happen. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, bring these back on a weekly basis. Working on another show where we'll go more in depth with some things behind the scenes at KCP with some of our leadership team. And then just ramping up the content like I mentioned earlier. We all do a great job of streaming consistently, you know, doing all of that with our own communities. And I think it's time we really just bring everyone together as a KCP community and talk about Rocket League. We talk about Halo. We talk about the things going on in the gaming community in general. So, but yeah, Jewel, Kronovi, do you guys have anything specifically that you guys are working on that you want to share with anybody yet, or not quite?
I have a few things I've been working on. I'm just excited. I might buy it from him. My dad has a nice little camera. I'm trying to put some more funny TikTok stuff out there. I've been thinking of a few things, maybe some hot takes. There's some people will say things that I'm like, that's out of line. I need to correct them right now. And I'm at the point where I'm just gonna leave it on the tripod, staring at the corner of my room. I'm just gonna click it and record it and just upload it. You know, I can't take it anymore.
Do you have one off the top?
Well, one of the things I talked about on a show I've been working on with Karma and Spaceman, I was saying how NA pros cut corners in their fundamentals, and that's why EU players are better than them most of the time.
Calling shots.
So I wanted to get their thoughts on it and stuff like that. Also, the season rewards this season were the same. Literally, like, it's the same decal again, just like, oh, what rank were you? Okay, we'll put that color on a card. Just slap, copy, and paste. This happens so often. I just had so many little rants that I want to put out there, and I want to have more of a presence, get my voice out there. I usually sit behind the scenes. I don't want the spotlight. I've had my time in the sun. I'm trying to be humble, and then all these people are just walking all over me. I'm sick of it. I'm done.
He's ready.
He's done. Clip it, ship it. There's a clip for the promotion. I like it. And then Jewel, anything in particular, anything special coming up for you besides Worlds?
Besides taking over Worlds, we're gonna take over Worlds.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to ask, I think Jewel and I we've talked about it a little bit, but Kronovi, are you planning on coming to TwitchCon later this year, or have you been to a TwitchCon?
I still don't know. I've been to almost every TwitchCon.
Okay.
They're always great, but I am still on the fence just because traveling is so expensive right now. Yeah, like I'm driving to Texas, and I'm not even flying out there.
How far of a drive is it for you?
Like 10 hours.
Okay.
And I calculated the gas cost, and it's cheaper than a round trip flight would be.
That's fair.
And I get my car there, so that's great. But yeah, I want to. I've loved TwitchCon. TwitchCon is so fun, getting to meet everybody, and it's really just a great time. So I really do want to go, but I'm still not sure yet.
Got you.
I booked a B&B, and I still don't know if I want to go. I already paid for the B&B and flights. Oh my god, I haven't even booked my flight yet. It's way too expensive right now.
I don't blame you. Hopefully I'll make it out there too. So, you know, it'd be cool to have the KCP crew out there. Just to, meet a lot of people, a lot of streamers obviously go. It would be my first TwitchCon if I do make it. So I'm excited. But
live podcast.
Exactly. Live podcast in person. I've always been super I've always wanted to do like the in-person podcast, right? Because the vibes are just different. You're there with the people. 100%.
The instinct.
Anything else? Any closing remarks, Matthew Nesquik Chocolate Milk?
iPhone camera is better than a MacBook.
Can confirm, but the audio is not quite there yet.
The forehead is larger on the iPhone.
Yeah, it's also like better quality, low key.
You're glowing. You're glowing right now, Matt. Just
Yeah, I know.
100%. No, but guys, hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of the KCP podcast back. If you're watching the Twitch chat, or if you're in the Twitch chat right now and there's anybody specific that you want to see inside of KCP and you want to see them on the podcast, let us know. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, obviously leave it down in the comment section below. But other than that, guys,
and if you're watching this on YouTube, bro, subscribe, dude.
Well, yeah,
Holy cow.
of course. Leave a like, subscribe.
If you're watching this on Twitch, then
Subscribe.
follow.
Drop a tier 3 sub real quick. Oh my goodness.
Any primers?
Any primers?
Wait, do we have subscribers on our Twitch?
Yeah, we got like 20 subscribers. We got like 20 right now.
Oh, okay. No, I was asking, do we have the ability to subscribe on our Twitch?
Matt, come on, Matt. What?
All right, well then go subscribe to our Twitch. If you got that Twitch Prime, then you already know the deal. You know what I'm saying?
All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast.
Wait.
Oh. What?
Oh, it's so pretty. Wait, that bag.
Go to kcp.gg/store and cop some merch.
Use code NickRich10. All right, guys.
Use code Pioneers10.
That's not even a code, Matt.
That one doesn't benefit anybody.
Why would you not want to benefit for somebody when you can benefit somebody?
Exactly.
I'm going to go walk to Matt's apartment and beat him up. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.
Drive safe.